Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and if you don't know, my channel is Did You See That? If you're the first time coming onto this video and coming across my channel, or if you're coming back once again, I really do appreciate you clicking on this video. So this is a topic that I've been thinking about for a little while. It's also a topic that I've also dealt with in maybe a different way than other people have, and I want to give my two stance on this. I think it's very important in the year of 2024 that I'm recording this video, and also going into future years where this continues to expand, or some people say that it's been rejected and it's not been sold as much as other years. There's all sorts of different theories and all sorts of different opinions out there, and that's absolutely fine. I always enjoy having those discussions and hearing the different sides of the story. I'm kind of here today to give you my side, but also kind of my experience with physical media, which is the topic that we're talking about, and I would love to know if you guys agree or disagree. Now, before we start, just a very quick disclaimer. This video is not aimed at anyone. This video is not aimed to be like, right guys, don't do this, don't do that, or yeah, you got to do this, or you've got to do that. This is my own purely personal opinion on physical media. I'm not here to try influence anyone or anything like that. I just wanted to give my 2 cents because I know there's people out there who collect thousands and thousands of titles. Shout out to Andy from Forgotten World of Movies, by the way, who I know who has over like 5,000 titles. And then there's some like me, or there's maybe people that's a little bit less than me, for example, in terms of how many titles they actually own. So this is why I just wanted to make this discussion video and give my sense. So with all of that in mind and me rambling on, let me get to the subject at hand. My journey of physical media. So back when I was a teenager, and when I mentioned that age, I'm talking around the age of between 16 and around 19 years old. Now, at that point in time, I was like leaving school, I was just starting to get a part-time job, and in my personal life, I was starting to come across, a little bit of money with part-time job, and I loved collecting video games. I also loved collecting DVDs back when, and every now and then there was an Amazon user page on there called Zoverstocks, who I do believe is Music Magpie, and I could be wrong on that, but they would sell a DVD for like a penny or like 12 pence, and then the postage would maybe be like £1.26, right? So it was really cheap. So at Options at the time, me and my brother Joe, we would buy these DVDs in bulk of like different titles like Wedding Crashes, and he'd buy like a load of zombie ones, and it was a different kind of time back when we collected them. Now, of course, as the years went on, I was like, well, why do I need these movies for? So I did end up selling that collection. There was maybe 1 or 2 titles that I kept, but I mainly got rid of it all, right? Which I know somebody's going to be like, whoa, Mike, that's scandalous. Like, why did you do that? Again, different time, different age, but that also does kind of come into play with my current collection status as of now. Now, fast forward all those years later, of course, we get the technologies of Blu-ray being introduced, and also 4K, and on May 18th, 2022, I think I remember the date from when I screenshotted it before starting this video, I put out a video called Building a Physical Media Collection Part 1. Where I wanted to get that love of physical media. I was inspired by people like Andy at Forgotten World of Movies, or for example like Ryan at Raven O's Fan 89, and other channels that cover physical media. And I was like, I really enjoyed collecting physical media back then. There's titles that I love and movies that I really, really love more than just, Back to the Future. And I wanted to own them in my physical media collection. So around about that time, or slightly just before, I bought titles like, for example, Weather and Review, the collector's edition, because I absolutely love this movie. It's one that I would watch at least yearly. So for me, being one of my favorite movies of all time, I was like, right, I want the best edition possible. Or, for example, my favorite anime movie of all time is Your Name. So, of course, I wanted the collector's edition of that. And then most recently, Suzume, who, by the way, all these are the same director, Makoto Shinkai, who is my favorite director, right? So, for example, movies like that, I wanted the big special editions, or at least the best editions you could get here, mostly in the UK. So that's kind of where a lot of my forefront of physical media started, and I was like, wow, you know, I really admire these people who are buying hundreds of DVDs or hundreds of Blu-rays, 4Ks, and I've got a huge collection. Then of course you guys seen in my videos in the background time, I used to have like 3 or 4 shelves full of physical media back here, if not a few little more, and I would have a lot of titles. And I loved it. It was great. It was really cool to have a collection and have those titles ready for there, because I'll be honest guys, in terms of streaming, I don't mind streaming, but I'm also, at the same time, I kind of hate streaming. In terms of when streaming is good and they've got a lot of titles and movies, I'm like, yeah, hey, I'll watch that. Okay, tomorrow. Okay, I'll watch that one because, you know, there's movies that I've seen before, I've really wanted to see, I've been able to catch in that format instead of buying it on, say, a DVD or Blu-ray, a brand new release, released on that format for like £10 or so. Because long, unfortunately, gone are the days of Blockbuster where you could rent it for like £2 or £3 and check it out. You have to buy the actual disc. You know, streaming is good for that avenue. However, streaming isn't so good because it advertises the same movie about 5 times on its own platform to be like, yeah, you must watch this title. And that I personally don't like. So having the physical media and say like, you know, having the movie like right here, for example, and be like, oh, hey, tonight, I'll just go in my collection and go watch that movie. It's great for that aspect, but also aesthetically, it's very pleasing to know that anytime I want, I've got the best version of Your Name possible, the 4K transfer. Now, where my journey comes into play. So I was collecting physical media, I was getting steelbooks, I was getting normal standard Blu-rays, and mainly only collected Blu-rays and 4Ks because that's the player that I've got, which is a PS5 at this current time that plays that format. Oh yeah, it probably does play a DVD as well, but when you've got better quality out there, especially as like just a Blu-ray upgrade, I'd rather have that personally than a DVD. But again, this is my own personal choice. People out there are collecting VHSs, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, Laserdisc, all sorts of format. Again, awesome for you, and continue to do that if that is your passion. And I really, really admire that for that person, for whatever they do decide to collect. So in recent times, I've downgraded a lot of my physical media. Now, people might come at me in the comments and be like, you're not a real physical media collector. You know, you only did this to start a collection and wow, why are you getting rid of it? Wow, well, you were supposed to really be supporting physical media, but instead you're doing stream, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not the case whatsoever. It's more of a mindset thing that came into play in my decision. Now, let me tell you what I actually mean. So, as I just mentioned not too long ago, I had about 3 or 4 shelves worth of physical media, and I can't count exactly how many titles fit the shelf because it all depends if they're all the same, you know, standard steelbook sizes, Blu-ray sizes, collector's editions. As you guys can tell, they are 2 complete different sizes of collector's editions, right? So of course that one's going to take more room on the shelf. So of course that all comes into the factor of this conversation part that I'm referring to. So for me, my mindset was this. I would walk into my room every day, which is kind of my like safe space, my man cave, my filming kind of studio, I guess you could kind of say, but it, you know, it's my place where I film, right? I would come in every day, I would turn around, I would look at my physical media collection, and I'm just like, hold on. A lot of these titles are just sitting there, gathering dust. They're not doing anything. I'm not watching Evil Dead every night. I'm not watching Back to the Future every night. Now, you could also make that argument and be, well, Mike, hold on. You don't want to watch Your Name every night. Like, what are you talking about? So, on that part, so that was the first thing. I was like, right, well, these titles are just sitting there gathering dust, right? Secondly, I then also thought to myself, right, so out of the 4 shelves that I had, how many of those movies am I actually going to watch again? And what I mean by that, is it going to be a time and time again viewed? Is it going to be one of those where I watch it one more time and then that's it? I'm done with that movie, or I'm not going to visit it for another 5 years. So then I thought, okay, again, another example, and I've got this on hand, Your Name. This is a movie that's my favourite anime movie of all time, as I mentioned before. This is a one that I do watch yearly. Heck, maybe even twice a year. Or more. It depends on my mood, how I'm feeling. Example, right? So then I thought, okay, well, if there's a movie like that, or like a Back to the Future, which is my favourite movie of all time, those are going to be ones that I'm going to watch time and time again. So those are the titles that I want to keep. Those are the titles that make sense for me to keep and to have a collection that, firstly, I'm proud of. Secondly, a collection that I can admire and appreciate, that it's filled with movies that I generally love from the bottom of my heart, have an attachment with, or have made me feel a certain kind of way. And those are the movies that I'm going to keep watching as time goes on, because I'm never going to get sick of them. They're movies that may have also changed my life, like a Your Name or a Back to the Future. I know I'm using some common examples, but they're just some big primary examples in my life. So with that in mind, so firstly I was like, right, well, I'm not going to be watching some of these titles, so that's why I've decided to downgrade on physical media, guys. I haven't got 4 shelves anymore. I've actually got about a shelf and a half since my last video, which was a Steelbook update of 2024. I've gotten rid of a lot. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Number one, what I've literally just been speaking about over the last few minutes. Number two is also the fact that I'm getting married in 2025. And yes, I may have took a little bit of a loss. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, hey, I made all my money back. No, I didn't. And, you know, that is something that I accepted. It was simple as that. You know, there's no truth or way about it. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. I did take a little bit of a loss. But at the same time, I was managed to cash some of that physical media in. I got the cash, and that is being used for my wedding. For example, it could be to book a venue, it could be to book a photographer, for flowers, you know, whatever kind of stuff goes into a wedding. And I'm not going to disclose full personal details of that, but that went into that factor. Thirdly, there's also the part of space. If you guys have seen my room tour video that I did in early 2024, I did a tour of this room that is my own space, and pretty much what you guys can see is the bookcases, the 2 bookcases here, and when that bookcases ends there, I've got hardly no room till you get to the door. And by all means, when these shelves get full, where else am I supposed to stock physical media, for example? Where else am I supposed to stock any extra items that I haven't physically got the space? And of course, one thing that a lot of people may not tell you is if you start a physical media collection, you need space. And I'm sure there'll be loads of collectors out there that can probably agree with me that in their houses, their flats, apartments, wherever they store physical media, they probably run out of space and like, pants, you know, I need another bookshelf. Oh, hey, I might have to make some space in my wardrobe to put it in there. And I just don't want to get to that point where it is stowed out and it's filling up my wardrobe. It's filling up, like, you know, sitting rooms, kitchens, dining rooms, you know, bedrooms, whatever. I'm just not that kind of person, and I've never been that kind of person. If someone is, fair play to them. Hey, props to you, you know, fair play to you. I just couldn't personally do that, but if you do, awesome. So that's kind of the third reason I also kind of downgraded my physical media collection. So this part of the video I want to tackle, if you're a brand new person collecting physical media or you're thinking about doing it, is it worth investing in? My answer would be yes and no. Firstly, you've got to take into account your own finances. Now, what I mean by that is if you've got a full-time job, part-time job, whether you're on benefits, you know, whatever the case should be, you've got to factor in how that is going to affect your life. Now, in terms of what I mean is, have you got enough money to pay rent? If you buy a physical media title, say for example, like a Your Name collector's edition that I got at the time, which was around £30-40, well, could you use that £30-40 to pay a part of a mortgage payment or part of a rent payment? Will that be enough for your food shopping for the week? So you've got to take that into account, but then also, are you saving for a house, a mortgage, a place of your own? Are you saving for Christmas? Are you saving for a birthday? Are you saving for, you know, like a car that is going to be more pivotal in your life than having a physical media title? So I would firstly tell you to probably question what your situation is like in your own life. Of course, you're going to know that better than anyone, and including me, and that is no judgment from me whatsoever, as I explained at the start of this video. But that is the first prerogative I would probably say, and advice I would give, to question that part first. Now, secondly, Have you got enough storage? As I just explained before, the amount of titles that I did have took up 4 shelves. Now, to a lot of people, they'll probably laugh and be like, well, that's nothing. You know, I've got full bookcases. I've got 40 rooms filled with physical media. And yeah, you probably do. Everyone is different. Everyone's got different collections. And I'm kind of more one of these people who did start up physical media. And I'm still going to collect it. Don't get me wrong. I'm making this video not saying I'm never going to collect again, because I will get certain titles. But what I'm trying to say is, have you got enough space of where you can store it? Also, thirdly, going into the finance part, is you don't need everything on DVD or a Blu-ray or a 4K. You don't need every collector's edition going. I would maybe say to you, your favorite movies of all time, maybe spend that little bit extra if you have it to get the best, like, you know, release out there for it, you know, instead of like a standard DVD or a Blu-ray. Again, of course, it goes into the finance part. Okay, and then fourthly, is it going to be a hobby that you're going to die out from loving or liking? Because if it is, and if you're one of these people who, you know, have a hobby and they start collecting very quickly, and then, you know, or start something and then you just kind of ditch it, then ultimately you're going to be left with all those titles. And yes, you could cash them in CEX, hope that they'll give you some good prices or you haven't lost too much money, but ultimately you then have lost some money. And fifthly, I would also say, fifth, I would also say, collect what you want to collect. You know, do what you want to do. No one's here to tell you what to or not what to do, but collect the titles, I would probably say, that you actually want to own. You know, blind buys are cool if you can get them cheap. For example, CEX might sell the DVD 50 pence. Like a blind buy like that, or a £1 Blu-ray or £2 isn't too bad. But if you blind buy something that's like £10 or upwards, and you've never seen that movie before, well, if you hate that movie, then you've just lost £10, right? Maybe catch it on streaming first if it is in that price range, the title that you're looking for. And if you love it, then hey, go out and buy it. So I think there's a lot of different aspects and factors that go into physical media, and there's a lot that goes into the conversation. It's a one where people, even like myself, I could probably make like a 2-hour video on this, but I'm trying to condense this down and keep it at least relatable to, you know, maybe a certain audience at least, because there will be people who will just scoff at this video, and if you do, that's fair play to you. And again, no judgment from me against anyone for that matter. But the one thing that I will also say in this category is, if you already have physical media right now and you've been thinking, well, actually, do I downgrade my collection? Do I need a copy of everything? Well, no, because I'm going to give a shout out actually here to AJ's Movie Place. Now, the reason I'm giving a shout out to AJ is on his channel, he actually did a Culling the Collection video. It's one of those where AJ, for example, he may have had 3 copies of a movie, and then he, you know, thought to himself, well, hold on, do I need 3-4 copies of a movie? No, I'm happy with one. I'll just keep like the steelbook and I'll get rid of the rest. And there you go. It's less, you know, it's going to be more space he's going to have freed up. He's also, you don't need the same movie loads of times, right? So I think it's just one of those where it's always going to be a discussion, but my stance on physical media right now is, if it's a movie that I absolutely adore and absolutely love, to give you an example, one movie I wish was on physical media is Barbarian from 2022. I actually am really fond and I love that movie. I've seen it 3 times since. Even on a night when I'm struggling to maybe find something to watch, I'm thinking like, hey, I might watch Barbarian. I never get sick of that movie, personally. It's a one that I really want. So if they release that, I would get that movie. And in the future, I would buy more movies and maybe a TV show here and there, but it's not going to be one where you guys are going to see physical media pickups every single week or every single month. You might see maybe 1 or 2 videos a year, depending on what they release. But with all of that in mind, and to wrap up this video, what are your guys' thoughts? You know, can you get behind what I'm saying in terms of my own views? Can you respect that? Do you completely disagree? Do you have an argument for or against what I've just said? Well, hey, let me know down below in the comment section, as I really love to read and hear your guys' opinion. But again, guys, at least try to be respectful, even if you completely disagree with me. Also, I want to give a big shout out to all my awesome Patreons who help to support the channel. You can join today from only £2 per month, where you see videos like this early before anyone else.